So by now, you probably saw the big reveal of 54, and it's already selling on Harrods, finally. But in this video, I'm going to give you an even bigger reveal of 54. I'm going to give you the whole story of how it came about and what we went through to create this fragrance. So if you're interested in learning the whole story, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. Yes, today I'm talking about 54, my fragrance collaboration with Jusbox and perfumer Julien Rasquinet. So how did this project come about? Well, what happened was I met the folks at Jusbox back in 2022. It was just after travel had started again. I hadn't traveled to Europe for 2 years, 2.5 years almost, and Aix-en-Provence happened in Milan, and I went to Aix-en-Provence in June of 2022. I actually went to an event at Xerjoff. They had just opened up a new boutique in Milan, and somebody over there said, guess what? Jusbox is also having an event. It's only around the corner. So we went to Jusbox because I knew that Jusbox was also the same folks of Costume National. So the two owners, brother and sister of Jusbox, also Costume National. So if you're a fan and you don't know about Jusbox, it's time you guys realize, because the same perfumers for Costume National also create fragrances for Jusbox. Mostly it's Julien Rasquinet and Dominique Ropillon. So go back in time. We walked to the party, the event at Jusbox, in an amazing space, by the way. The Jusbox store in Milan is one of the best perfume shops I've ever been into. It's actually like a record store, an old record store, but very high-end and modern, but this time with perfume. So there's all this like decoration and artwork and things like that, connected to music, because Jusbox is a music brand. And so there's a little Jusbox, Jukebox. I always get those confused. Jukebox. There's a jukebox there. Click on the buttons. And so each fragrance is inspired by something to do with music. With 54, I came up with inspiration of Studio 54. But they have fragrances like Amy Winehouse inspired. I believe they have an Aretha Franklin one. They have grunge music, reggae music, classical music, David Bowie, so on and so on. So all these different music themed fragrances. So I walked in and I first met Chiara, the sister of the brand, and we spoke and she showed us the store. We smelled some fragrances, but the store is just huge and it's big property, because once you get through the store, there's this beautiful courtyard, really nice space out there. We hung out, and then I got to meet Andrea, also the brother, and we spoke about Costume National and Jusbox. So this was that time of the year. Then later I was going back to Milan in September of 2022, and I mentioned to Chiara and Andrea, I'd like to shoot a video with them. If you haven't caught that video, please catch that video. It was at the time they were releasing their David Bowie inspired fragrance. So it's a lot of things to do with that fragrance. The store was decorated for that kind of fragrance. I'm assuming for 54, they're going to go all out and decorate it in the disco music theme. So we'll see when that happens, and I'll for sure post some photos. So we shot a video, and I believe at that time they were kind of sort of leaning into the idea of collaborating, because I had told them that I was working in the music business for a long time. In fact, when I was doing this up until about 2020, 2021, 2022, I was still working in the business, whereas I was doing content on YouTube and I had my work. I was self-employed, so I didn't have to report to anyone, so it was very flexible. And I think at that time, I think that's when they had started seeing that since I had the connection with music. We went to dinner after we shot that video. We spoke a lot about music and our musical interests and things like that. So then fast forward to spring of 2023, there was an event here at ZGO Perfumery for Jusbox. And it was a Visionary Eye. That was a fragrance for David Bowie, and I believe that was the fragrance that they came to ZGO for. And at that time, I was asked by Andrea if I'd like to collaborate on a fragrance. I myself thought it would be a great way to collaborate with them. I never said anything to them because I had already asked another brand to collaborate on a fragrance with, and I wasn't about to ask another brand as well. And Jusbox asked me, and I said, yes, this would be a great great project for me. And in the back of my mind, I always thought I wanted to do something with Studio 54. I felt like there's got to be some project out there I can be involved in with the theme of Studio 54. I didn't know it was going to be fragrance related and things like that, but since they came forward and asked me, I said, we've got to do this project. So basically, they came to me, asked me, I thought about it, and I came back to them and gave them a brief about the concept and idea. I put together a couple of paragraphs, some visuals, some keywords that I wanted to make sure to incorporate into the fragrance. And then they said, you have the opportunity to work with 2 perfumers. We always work with Dominique Ropion or Julien Rasquinet. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what, I'd like to work with Julien Rasquinet. I've known about Dominique Ropion for years. I mean, for over 10 years, because I've been a fan of Portrait of a Lady for the longest time, and I knew that he had created it. Big fan of his, but I thought, you know what, let's go with the younger perfumer, and let's do something with the younger perfumer rather than somebody that's been around for a long time. So that came through, but as soon as we were going to start the project, like late spring, I was notified by the Jusbox folks that we can't start the project because Julien had just resigned from IFF, where he works, or he worked at. He worked there with Dominique Ropion, and so I believe for like 3 months he couldn't take on any new projects. So we were basically just sitting around. So by the time I went back to Europe again in September of last year is when really the project started. So Julien started incorporating the brief and the keywords and the visuals. I also told them there's all these movies and documentaries you got to watch about this nightclub. I just wanted to make sure, you kind of get inspired by the documentaries and the films. So I know for me, going to clubs was something very important. I went to quite a bit of it when I was younger. I don't go anymore. I don't think it's as trendy as it used to be at one time. But what I always remember is, especially in the 80s and 90s, man, the fragrances were so loud. And when you walk into a nightclub, it's kind of a cool space. It's air conditioned. And so, because there's a lot of bodies that are warm, they're dancing. So they keep the places cool. And I remember you get caught up in a group of people and you can smell their fragrance projecting off of them on you. And you're smelling some great pleasant scents. And I remember these experiences quite a bit. And I kind of wanted something that would do such a thing with the fragrance that we launched. Because going back to the 70s, the fragrances were extremely loud and intense, overwhelming experiences and no holds back kind of experiences. No holds barred, I should say, but like no holding back with the fragrances and what you can use back then. So all of the fragrances, even though they came in eau de toilette or even eau de cologne form, they were so highly concentrated and strong, they wouldn't evaporate and disappear so fast. So I wanted to make sure that the experience of this fragrance was going to be like that. And also the fact that I wanted patchouli to be the focus note. So I came up with a couple of different directions, and we started getting mods by the time early October, because I was still in France by early October. I was at duty free, and we started receiving the first mods. And unfortunately, the first mods were not at all what 54 is like now. Those were completely different fragrances, completely. So different than what this is, actually. But we started getting more mods and more mods. I actually met with Julien at the CPL Aromas booth at the Beauty World in Dubai. We went through some more mods. We had a meeting. We smelled things. And then I started getting more mods and more mods. And sort of little by little, the project started falling into place, because you fine-tune things and the perfumer starts understanding your idea and you get to start understanding the way they work. And it comes together and creates something really great. So we went in all kinds of directions. We went into sweaty directions. The cumin came up. We went into cocaine direction. We went into leathery, a little bit oud, but I knew I didn't want oud in it because I didn't want a Middle Eastern style fragrance because those weren't that popular at that time. And even though the fragrance we were coming up with is very modern, I did want a little bit of paying tribute to the fragrances of the 70s and 80s kind of a thing. It's a very modern fragrance, and I think the note patchouli might be the only retro kind of note in here, but it's just patchouli. It's an amazing note. So yeah, we fine-tuned it, and then by the time January came around, I was visiting France, and so I spent a whole day at CPL Aromas going through a lot of other mods. I was happy with them, but I wasn't 100% happy. So spending a whole day there going through mods and notes and ingredients and different things, and then we fine-tuned it down to 2 different mods that we were liking. I gave up on the cocaine. We even had lipstick. Did I mention that already? I gave up on the lipstick, the leather, all of these mods. Eventually, we were going to go into a bit of a green direction, kind of sort of like the 70s green chypres, but very vintage. And the one we created turned out to be a bit on the masculine side, which I really loved. But unfortunately, I had to back out of that one as well because it just wasn't beefy like this one is. For some strange reason, it wasn't. We were adding things to it. It just wasn't taking on the beefiness. It just kept staying kind of thin. So eventually we went with this 54 with the patchouli and the vanilla and the cinnamon, pina colada, rum, tobacco. In March, I was in Europe. So at that time, we had more meetings and we finally settled on this at that time. And again, at that time we settled on it, but at that time we were thinking this wouldn't launch until the end of the year, but somehow we're able to make it for this particular launch. Let me show you the packaging because I've already done the reveal. This is the bigger reveal. I'm going to show you a lot more. So this is what the box comes in, and it does say 54, and of course here on the side you see the disco balls. So that's on the packaging. Here, when you open the fragrance, the packaging, you do see the record there. And it is a music-inspired fragrance. And of course, they have records created that you'll see in the Jusbox store. If you're ever going to Milan, as I said, make sure to go there. The store is amazing. It's one of the best perfume shops. It's more like a concept store. It's basically you're walking into a perfume record shop. Really amazing. So that's the box. The sleeve comes off like that. The packaging, I think, came out great. It's very classy and really love that about it. I already did the unboxing on camera, so you already saw that. I have a strip in here. But let me show you the bottle once again. So on the sides, you've got the numbered 54. And on the front, you've got 54. Now, there's a strange coincidence that happened with the launch of this fragrance, and I didn't even think about it, because when we started working on this fragrance last year, I told Jusbox gang, Andrea and Chiara, I said we need to call this 54. Not Studio 54, 54. Because I don't think we could use Studio 54 to begin with, but just call it 54. But fast forward to just a week or so ago, I just realized this is launching just around the time that I turn 54 next month. So it's a strange coincidence, not planned, not thought about. I just realized, like I said, a week or so ago. Anyway, going back to this, so it's 54 on both sides and 54 in letter. The name is actually 54. It's not the number, it's the actual spelled out 54. But 54 on the sides just to make it look like the Studio 54. I don't have a price for this yet. It is a 78 ml bottle. As you can see on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or not. So yeah, it's around 22% concentration, give or take. It's not an extrait de parfum, it's an eau de parfum. But man, this has great longevity, really great cloud and sillage. That's exactly what I was going for. It's warm and spicy. And actually the reactions have been amazing with this. People have been really, really impressed because everybody seems to say it's great. The reactions from all the people. I have actually been using small samples that the brand, not the brand, but Julien's firm gave me, and I've been using those, and I've been having people test them out and things like that. The reactions have been great. But the notes breakdown for this, for top notes, we've got Pina Colada, Cardamom, Davana. Heart notes, we've got Saffron, Chocolate Accord, Nagarmotha, Cinnamon Bark. Finally, in the base notes, Rhum, Vanilla Resin, Sandalwood, Patchouli, and Tobacco. So I want to say something. One of my favorite fragrances is Tobacco Vanille. I love it. It's a loud fragrance. It's big, and I love tobacco and vanilla together. This is sort of like taking those notes and adding patchouli to it, or taking the patchouli and throwing it in with tobacco vanille. Not saying it's identical, kind of that idea. Because there's a little bit of this, not necessarily very smoky. The tobacco in this is more leafy, slight smoky. That's what I'm getting on my skin. But you might get something different. You might get the smoke. Maybe it's the creaminess that we have in here that kind of washes away the smokiness, but a lot of noses are picking up different things. Some do get chocolate milk because Pina Colada is made with coconut milk or coconuts in general. So there's that creaminess with the coconuts, and of course the chocolate that's in here, the chocolate accord, is creating a bit of a chocolate milk effect, which is basically a gourmand fragrance. But the patchouli is the focus note, and of course when this was on the beauty coming soon section of Harrods, they didn't list the fragrance down exactly as it was. My god, they didn't even list the patchouli. And this is a patchouli focused fragrance. They made it sound like it was a gourmand. This is not a gourmand. Well, it is a gourmand, but it's a patchouli gourmand. It's a woody gourmand for me, or woody spicy fragrance in general. Let me show you a little bit more about the presentation. So each of the fragrances comes with like a CD sleeve or CD artwork, as you can see. So that's the CD artwork for this fragrance, 54. We don't buy CDs anymore. I haven't bought a CD in years, and this is kind of like that. But also, there's the records. So in the stores, when you go to the Jusbox store, I should say, they have these displayed. It's like I said, it's kind of like a record shop. I used to buy a lot of vinyl. I had a huge vinyl collection. And the actual vinyl or record itself is like a big disco ball, but then again, you've got the little big disco balls in there, as you can see. And here, the notes break down the fragrance itself, and then of course, some information about the fragrance. It basically says, if Studio 54 existed today, 54 is the fragrance we'd be wearing, remembering all the elements of a good time. Master perfumer Julien Rasquinet, with the inspiration of the perfume guy, played with the note of patchouli to party again. The energy of Pina Colada, Cardamom, and Davana is mixed with the faceted notes of Saffron, Chocolate Accord, Nagarmotha, Cinnamon Bark, to leave the way to the underground strong, defined in the rich base of rum, vanilla resin, absolute, sandalwood, patchouli, and tobacco. So that's written right there. And yeah, this is, I'm hoping it's launched now, because as of the shooting of this video, I'm not 100% sure, but it should be launched and selling now. So that's what I could say about this fragrance. I liked the concept. I enjoyed the process very much. It was such an exhilarating experience. Now I can only imagine doing more because I'm addicted. I'm hooked, really. So I don't know if you guys remember, I mentioned I was working on 2 fragrances. In fact, this was the second fragrance. The brand came to me, but I went to another brand, and I went to that brand and said, there's this strange coincidence between us, you and me and us, kind of a thing. So I'd love to collaborate on a fragrance. So I started that fragrance before I started this. But sadly, there's been delays with that fragrance. The problem with that fragrance has been the compounding house has not been able to recreate the fragrance. And I'm a very picky person. I don't want to launch something that I don't remember smelling. So basically, what the perfumer created and what the compound house has created are night and day difference. They don't smell alike. What the perfumer gave me, I fell in love with and loved, after many trials, by the way, again. And what the compound house is giving me to recreate his fragrance that I loved are night and day difference. So annoying. That fragrance was supposed to launch earlier. It hasn't, and I'm hoping it'll launch by the end of the year. But in the meantime, 54 has launched, and you guys can let me know what you think about it. Again, this is a patchouli-focused fragrance. I would say it's a patchouli woody gourmand. Patchouli is king here. Again, the information on Harrods' website was wrong. They totally missed the patchouli. Like, that was the most important note. They didn't even mention that. But yeah, I'm very excited about this, guys. Again, it's a very exciting opportunity to collaborate on something like this. And then to have the fragrance appear at Harrods. It's really, really an amazing experience. And I really want to do more. Really, really want to do more. Again, we've got the other fragrance coming with my other brand, but I'll give you guys more info on that as it gets closer to launch. I'm just hoping that will launch by the end of the year. But this one is launched, and I don't want to have them launched around the same time, but we can enjoy this one and then enjoy the other one after, when that launches at the end of the year or next year. But this is what happened. This is coming first because we finished this one, and I think it's going to be big because everybody seems to love it. The reactions have been amazing. Everybody seems to love it. Like if you're a cinnamon lover, you'll really pick out the cinnamon in this because the cinnamon is pretty strong. In fact, whatever you're sensitive to, either you like it or hate it, you're going to pick it out. So if you're a cinnamon lover, you're going to pick it up. If you're a cinnamon hater, you're probably going to pick it out too. So it's what you're sensitive to most. For me, it's the patchouli. It stands out a lot. And again, it's the focus note. But I'm excited, really, really excited for this. I can't believe it's finally out. I'm hoping that you guys are going to enjoy it as well. Again, it's a patchouli gourmand, or it's a woody gourmand, woody spicy fragrance, milky lactonic, all of those things come to mind. It's not a tropical fragrance, by the way. People were saying it's tropical. You will notice up top the blast of Pina Colada, but that's not long-lived. And in fact, it's more about the creaminess and very, very light fruitiness from the coconut and pineapple. Very light. But really, really so happy with this. Really happy. I'm excited, and really I'm excited to share it with you guys as well. And hopefully, if you are in London, you can come by. And then let's talk a little bit about the launch of this in the States. I know most of my audience is in the States. There's no 100% set dates for this, but I'm assuming since it's delayed at Harrods, it's going to be delayed here as well. As of now, there are some events potentially in November and December, which I will announce here on the channel. But for now, the only way to buy this is from Harrods. And unfortunately, Harrods has a very expensive shipping fee. Some of you guys are okay with it. Please make sure to use your Rakuten so you can get some cash back. And it's not going to be much because they only do 2%. Once in a while, they'll do 10%. But use that to save a little. Otherwise, the shipping is high. And some of you like bank a couple of items you want to get and order them together to pay one shipping fee rather than paying one shipping fee for one item at a time, which is what I do. I shop from Harrods quite a bit, and the shipping fee is high, so I probably will be like, okay, I'll buy that. Let me wait for it until it's available, then I order them and then just pay one shipping fee, because sometimes they are a little less expensive than here, and why bother when you can buy all three less expensive than here, then you can justify the shipping fee. Because if you bought them here, you still would pay a lot more, kind of a thing, you know? So yeah, I will let you guys know more about the launch of this here. For now, at Harrods, I will want to show this to you guys. I keep saying that, but like I said, if you're around in London on the 29th, come by. Let me spray it for you and have you smell it. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. 54 has launched. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. 54 is launched. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. I should also say I will do more videos about this as things progress. I'll post about them, and as new developments happen, I will let you guys know. But again, thanks so much for watching today, and hope to see you in London and on the channel as well. Bye-bye.